right, we are live. We are live. Now I'm going to go ahead and see if I can click to broadcast to Facebook. Let's see if I can do. I'm not going to try to do YouTube. That's too much at once. But let's see. We're going to share to a group, and the group is remote viewing with Lori Williams. So we're going to. There we go. All righty. And we're just going to share. I'm not even going to put a description. I'm just going to share it. Hopefully it'll broadcast to Facebook at the same time. Okay. Hey, Mary, can you check and see if we are broadcasting on Facebook within the remote viewing with Lori Williams group? Question mark. Okay, there we go. All right, so Mary can check that for us. All right, hi. Oh, TRC, New Mexico. Yay. Hey, Dax. Hey, Morningstar. Morningstar's not far from us, Lynn. He's in Truth or Consequences.
Yeah.
Can you see the chat too, Lynn, from where you're at?
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. Okay,
Good
cool.
morning from.
Good morning from Carol Cook. Hey, Carol. Hi, Chris Randall. Martin, Dundee, Scotland. Martin's coming in from Dundee, Scotland.
Hey.
Sheila's calling in from Belize. Hi, Sheila. Good to see you. And Robin's in Albuquerque. Hey, Ray McClure in Ireland.
Hey, Ray.
Hey, Ray. Good to see you. San Antonio. Elizabeth in San Antonio. Hi. Carol's in California. Carrie Conti's here. Hey, Carrie Conti and Constance. It's so great to see you guys. It's wonderful to see old friends. Not that you guys are old. Vlad. Hello, Vlad. Oh, man, they're coming in fast now. Rio Rancho. Hey, Lana. We've got a lot of New Mexicans calling in. From Louisiana. Hi, James. And Dax is in Los Angeles. Michael. Hey, Michael from Las Vegas. Ronald. A lot of these are my students. Guys, welcome. Florence in Oregon. Donna, how are you, Donna? Donna is like a sister to me, Lynn. She's her dad and Jim's dad were best friends from the time they were 8 years old, and then all their kids kind of grew up together, and so she's like a sister. And then we got George from Austin, Blair from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, Sarah in Liverpool, England, welcome, and Tara in Manitoba. We got Ida in Louisiana, another Louisiana person, Teresa from Bellevue, Washington. Tommy's here from Pahoa. Tommy's one of our CRV Pro coaching 3-year certification students. Lee from Maryland. Mystic Tuba from Tucson. And Ingrid. Hi, Ingrid from Belgium. Good to see you, Ingrid. Brett Hammond. Hi, Brett. Debbie from Toronto. Janice from Vancouver. We got Phoenix. Hi, everybody. Hi, Brian, Mary, Fiona, Audrey, Austin. Wow, we got a lot of people coming in from all different places. Really great to see everyone. Oh, Michael, Michelle from Ohio.
And turn some heat on. It's cold. I'll be right
back. Okay, do that. Global citizens calling in from Detroit, Michigan. Hi, George. Ed Moon from Wisconsin. We got Terry from the UK. Lots of people in Ohio. Oh, Julia Ashley's also in Ohio. Hi, Claire. I loved Wales. We had so much fun when we went to Wales. Oh, Matt's also in Ohio. Hi, Matt. I'm glad to see you. Another CRV Pro coaching person. Malcolm from Johannesburg, South Africa. Hi, Malcolm. Good to see you. Okay, so yes, everybody's signing in. We had almost, I think we've got over 500 people trying to get in right now. So we're probably we're gonna go ahead and jump in though and get started. So go ahead, and if you want to put in the chat, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask either one of us, we would love to talk with you. This is such a wonderful time. We do have a hard stop at 1 o'clock my time, which is in an hour. We're going to have a hard stop. I've got an alarm set. Okay, so Mary says only Lynn's video is showing on Easy Webinar. Can all of you see Lori? Oh, yeah, Mary says we can only see Lynn's video. Jody, do you see my video in Wichita, Kansas? or is it just, it might be a setting on your thing, Mary. I'm not sure. If nobody can see me, then we need to do something. Claire, in Wales, can you see Lori and Lynn, or do you just see Lynn? Because on my screen I see both of us. So I'm not sure. You can see both of us too, Lynn?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what oh no, everybody's saying only Lynn. They can only see you. I wonder why. What should I
Better
do?
get pretty then.
What?
I
Yeah.
better get pretty then.
Let's see, what can I do so that they can see me too? I don't know. Let's see. Full screen. Let's see if we can camera, FaceTime. It says that my camera's on. I do have a little green line around my screen that's not around yours, Lynn. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I see the little green line around yours. And the
Carrie
little
says, Carrie, do you only
corner.
say that again? Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure why that is. That I just assumed everyone could see both of us. Oh wait, now what do you see, guys? I just clicked something, and all of a sudden now I only see me, and I don't see Lynn. Uh-oh. Did I lose you? Oh, there we are, Lynn.
Okay.
Now, what do you guys see now? On Facebook. Oh, Terry says on Facebook we can see both of you, but only Lynn on this.
Settings.
Okay, Claire says now what? Lynn's back. Okay, everybody says still see you, and this one says can't see Lori. Huh? I wonder, maybe I should stop my video for a second and start it again. Let's see. And let's see if I can start my video again. Did that help at all? How does Hemi-Sync work with the lemon? That's a good question, Dazza. Well, I don't know why you can't see both of us, folks, but because I don't know, it doesn't seem to be working. I'm not sure why. Let me check the settings. Audience permission, enable chat, microphone, speaker, webcam. It says that the webcam is, it says that it's FaceTime. Maybe I need to change the web. Nope, this is the only option it's giving me. I don't know why, and it says that my video is going, so I'm not sure.
Welcome to Easy Webinar.
Oops. All right, I'm not sure what the deal is. I'm not sure why it's not showing me, but I can't ditch it out and come back in because
Elizabeth, she's just seeing a black screen.
Well, and they said that if it's working fine on on Facebook.
No sound. Huh.
Now they're saying there's no sound?
Facebook is showing both.
Yes, Facebook is showing both. Monica says there's no sound. But I think I'm not sure. Oh no, Laureen says lost picture and sound. Huh. This is not going well. Easy Webinar is not being very easy today. Okay, guys, you know what? Maybe we should. Well, I'm afraid let me turn off the live. I wonder if I turned off the live. No, I don't know. I'm not sure what to do. Okay, Julie Hogan says she's on her phone and she can hear us. She can hear us, but she can only see Lynn. All right. Well, if it's working on Facebook, I don't know what's wrong with the webinar settings that you guys can't see me, but you can see Lynn. So we'll just go ahead. We're just going to keep going because I don't know what else to do. So let's keep going, and at least it'll be on Facebook. It'll be recorded on Facebook, and we'll just go ahead and go with it. All right. On the sound. I know they used to be fun, but at least they can hear us. So we'll just keep going. All right. So Lynn, they can see your beautiful face. So you go ahead and answer some questions. All right. So what are your questions? The first question we had was, and Dax says she loves Lynn's ponytail. Steve's holding his dairy cup to go with Lynn's Dublin cup. Okay. And Dax had a question about Hemi-Sync and the lemon. It's funny, I was talking with the last time I talked with Tom, he said, go figure how they spell lemon. The correct spelling of lemon is Limen. And you and I have been spelling it Limin. And he said, it be Limin because subliminal, right? But he
Yeah.
said no, the correct, I did look it up and it is Limen. So we're going to have to fix that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We're going to have to fix that. And we've been
Said
spelling it
that
wrong
he was
all these
spelling-
years.
When you first said that, I thought he was spelling it Lamon, lemon.
I've got this lemon in my head. Lyn, what has been your experience with the Hemi-Sync from Monroe Institute?
I was fascinated with it. The whole concept of it. If you have two sounds that are slightly different, like you play the two notes separate on a piano, you get that wah, wah, wah. That's because the sound waves are canceling each other out. You put the headsets on, the sound waves never hit each other. They can't cancel out. But you still hear the wah, wah, wah. And that's mind, that's your brain actually turning on and off or whatever. And this is what Robert Monroe, this is what Bob set up with the Hemi-Sync, is that it actually sets up a frequency following response in your brain. And he did these tremendous studies about, excuse me, about the brainwave patterns of people when they're concentrating, when they're doing sports, playing chess, exercising and all that. And when they're hungry and when they're full. And so he set up these sound patterns in the ears, and some of them are playing like 5 different tones in this ear and 5 different tones in this ear that are all slightly apart so that you get the different wah 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 things, so that it tries to set up a frequency following response so that your brain has the brainwave patterns of somebody who's not hungry. Or somebody who's concentrating and things like this. Fantastic science work that he did. Bob was a genius. Yeah.
Yeah, it really sounds like it. And I was telling you this morning when you were on and I were on the phone together that I'm reading this book about the biocentric design, the grand biocentric design, and by Robert Lanza. And it is an amazing book because it's what you and I have been telling everyone for a long time, how reality is not what we think it is, and how it really comes from reality. It seems like it's more based on consciousness, and our consciousness creates our reality. You know how we always say that, you can create your own reality through your thoughts and things. Well, they really are finding out that consciousness does create it. And you remember there were the wave and the particle things, and how observation, just being able to observe something, changes what it does.
Yeah.
Now physicists are discovering that just by including consciousness, into their equations, that was the missing piece. And we really are. They say, when you look through a telescope and you're looking at a star that died millions of years ago, you're literally looking into the past. But they said, but your observation of the universe is what creates the universe, that you're actually creating the past as you look at it through your observation of it.
And that's not to say there's no star out there.
Right. That's right. It's amazing.
Your reality is not real, but there is a real reality. One time I was in class, and this guy and his wife were students, and he kept expounding on, we make our own reality. And this was his almost mantra, And we went to lunch. We were in Northern California, and I drove, and traffic was horrible, and I kept hitting all the lights green, which I usually do anyway. And he and his wife were in the back seat. There's another student in the seat beside me. And he was getting agitated. And he said, "How come you always hit the lights green?" And I said, "Why would I want to hit them red?" And he said, "Well, I don't want to hit them red, but I always do." And I said, "Didn't you say we always make our own reality?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Then why have you made for yourself a reality that's full of red lights?" And he got quiet, and his wife went, "Oh, oh, oh, oh."
That's so funny. Here's somebody that had a really good question. Ruby asked, she says, "I'm a bit concerned about doing sessions without a team at all. Is this really something that can be done without a monitor with the same amount of accuracy?" How would you like to answer that one, Lynn?
With the same amount of accuracy, be done without a monitor. What we teach, what I teach, is when I teach you remote viewing, I also teach you the monitor's cues and the monitor's job. When I had classes here, I would, pair people up, have one view and the other monitor, then switch jobs back and forth. And I would teach monitoring at the same time. The Ingo Swan method of monitoring is what's rarely ever taught, but it's very non-invasive and it's very non-leading. And so then after they have learned to monitor, I say, "Okay, you're going to go home. You're not going to have somebody there to monitor for you, but you know how to monitor. Monitor yourself and you will always have a monitor." And so we start out, here are the coordinates, and the viewer does the coordinates, and then the monitor says, "There may be other gestalts at the site. Would you like to take the coordinates again?" And on the last day of the class, I say, "Okay, you're working alone. You stuff the coordinates, do stage one, and then say to yourself, there may be other gestalts at the site. Would I like to take the coordinates again?" And in doing it that way, if you know how to monitor, you can monitor yourself, and you're never without a monitor. And the thing is, if you learn how to properly monitor someone else, you can properly monitor yourself without pollution and without leading. And in the process, your accuracy can stay the same.
But
you have to know how to monitor. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can do, I have a book out on monitoring if you want to read it. You just look up Lori Lambert Williams in Amazon and it'll pull up the book on monitoring. I remember when I first wrote it, Mel Riley called and said, "God, I wish we had had this book when I was, when I was doing this, but it is, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect book. It's not a complete, everything on monitoring, but it's enough to get you started at least and to help you learn. If you're not in my class or Lynn's class and you just want, some way to do it on your own, that's one way you could do it, is to read the book on monitoring. It has a lot of examples for movement commands as well, and the things that you should consider as a monitor. And it can even help you train someone to monitor you. If you wanted another person, you could train your teenager or your spouse or your best friend or whatever. That's another idea. Another person wrote, "I'm concerned with CMEs off the sun. Any viewings of this in the near future?" What's a CME? Do you know what a CME is, Lynn? Nope, I don't either. I assume that it would be like those big sun.
The sunspot, yeah, the radiation, I guess, yeah.
Mary, someone's asking, could you just put a link to the monitoring book in the chat, and then people can just pull it up there. So yeah, I think a lot of people are worried about, you know, that type of thing. And you know, there's an old saying that says, even if I knew the world was ending tomorrow, I would still go out and plow my field. And I feel like there's so much worry going on right now in the world. There's political stuff,
Oh, yeah.
there's crime, there's pollution, there's climate change. You know, there's so much stuff going on that we could worry about. And yet, you know, I think the only thing we can really do is focus on our mission. Each one of us has to have a mission that you're focused on, and you just be the best person you can be and do the best you can in the world today. And if the world ends tomorrow, it ends tomorrow. But it's not anything we really need to worry about, because we are eternal beings for sure. We're not going to die. We're going to just move on to the next stage.
I'm guessing here that the ME stands for magnetic emissions or something from the sun. And let me give an analogy, okay? There are all these things about, you know, the celestial wind is going to affect you, and the way that the Earth is pointing in space is going to, and the gravity of the planets and all that is going to affect your remote viewing and all that. They may do that to a small degree. But like Lori said, worrying about it is going to do more. Okay? And the analogy is, you know, you want a remote view, and so you want a quiet place. So you go to a library, or you lock yourself in a closet or something like that, and you have your quiet place. Or you can go to a noisy, busy restaurant to where there's this terrible amount of noise and banging of dishes and people talking and all that that's going to interrupt your session. And pretty soon you ignore it, and mentally you've got a quiet place, and you can do your session, a tremendously good session, in a noisy restaurant as well as you can in the quiet closet, because your mind gives you peace at both. So yeah, the magnetic stuff,
coronal mass ejection, man. Coronal mass ejection.
Coronal mass ejection. Okay, yeah. And that, and the solar wind and all that. Yeah, they may have an effect. But worrying about it and letting it stop you,
yeah,
they don't hold a candle to that.
Yeah. And there's not much we can do about the sun, you know. We just need to, unless we're creating our own reality, and we created the sun.
We create this.
Don't have a reality where there's a solar flare that kills us all.
Yeah, but then it gets dark and you can't see your paper when you do your session.
Here's a really good question. Tara Brower asks, is there a recommended amount of practice targets that we should be doing per week? And is there such a thing as doing too many targets?
Absolutely, yes. One of the things you want to do is you want to practice enough. You don't want to burn yourself out, okay? One of the ways to regulate your own viewing is to view a session, and many people will set themselves a number of sessions. They view a session, view a session, view a session, view a session, and they don't learn anything from them. But if you view a session, look at your feedback, go through your session, see what you did right, see what you did wrong, see what led you to doing things right, what led you to doing things wrong, and analyze that session. Even if you do only one session a week and learn something from it, you've done the right number of sessions. If you do 4, you've done the right number, and you won't burn yourself out that way. But if you just sit there and try to, get a conveyor belt and run these sessions, you're going to burn yourself out. Don't do that. Learn from a session.
Yeah, one thing I love to tell people is slow and steady wins the race. People who take their time and really, really dive in deep and do post-session analysis, for example, afterwards, those
Yeah.
people tend to end up developing really good remote viewing skills, whereas people who rush too much or who put too much pressure on themselves, who try to do 3 sessions a day, or that kind of thing, end up usually just getting so burned out they walk away, and then we lose a good viewer, because of that. So it's
Yeah,
definitely.
and listen, when you're learning, score don't count. Score doesn't count at all. It's what you learn from the session, and so you score your session, and you look at your accuracy, and you did badly, and your first thought is, I'm no good, I'm pig slop, I'm dog meat, and all this. No, that session is the best trainer you can get. I mean, that session that you do poorly on has so much information about the way you think and the way you, and if you learn from that session, I don't care what the score is, if you learn something from it, that's a great session.
Yes, it really is. It's so
Yeah.
important. Also, it's really about not being so focused on, am I accurate? Am I getting everything perfect? But just really immersing yourself in the process itself and having fun, so that when you're done, you can really learn something from it through the post-session analysis. That's so, so
Yeah,
important.
and along that line, when you finish a session, put it together, staple it with your feedback and with your score and all that, the way you scored it, and keep it. Okay. What most people don't understand is that when you're doing these sessions, you are doing research and you're writing a book about your own mind. And that is research into the way your mind works like no other person's. And when you get a stack of sessions this high, listen, that's an autobiography.
Mhm.
That is a session. I mean, that is a book that tells you and everybody else that ever wants to plow through it, exactly how a human mind works. Yours especially. Don't throw those sessions away. Keep them.
Yes, for sure. We tend to want to throw away things we tend to want to throw away things that we think are not perfect, but I
Oh,
think
listen, bad sessions are good
yeah.
ones.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember. I've done a lot of sessions that were 100%, and I don't even remember them. The ones that I did 50% on, I learned something amazing
Yeah.
and about myself, and those were so valuable. So it's definitely not always the successes that are important. It's actually the ones where maybe they didn't go so well that you really learn something.
Right.
And
Once
also,
you get into operations and helping find missing kids, your score is important. Your accuracy is important. While you're learning, be a learner. Learn something from them. That's when your bad sessions are the most valuable of all.
it is. And I think we should address, there's a lot of questions in here about the slumps. Let's talk about the slumps and how they are a normal part of progressing, and how even when you go into a slump and every session you do is dog meat, as you always like to say, Lynn, just dog meat. When every session you do is dog meat, that's actually a reason to be encouraged, because it's a sign of progress, like the baby rolling over or the baby lifting up your head. There are milestones in a child's development that you look for, right? Where the baby's going to start crawling and walking and talking. those slumps are various milestones in the progression of a remote viewer, and it's a normal part of your progress. Do you want to speak to that some, Lynn? Because we have a lot of
Yeah,
people who are going into a slump right now, and they're
we've
like,
kept,
why is the
we've
session
kept,
I'm doing dog meat?
we've kept tremendous data on these. And in the data keeping, we've analyzed not only the session, but also the type of target and everything else. We've also kept data on outside influences and results. What we've found over and over is that you'll be working along, and the remote viewing learning is plateau learning, okay? And you'll be working along, and you'll establish a pretty good average score. And then, excuse me, either because you're ready to learn to the new plateau, or because something happens in your life, you go into a slump. What happens in this slump is your conscious and your subconscious mind are working something out. You rarely ever know what it is. If you stick with it and work with the sessions and stay in that slump, you may go through 20 sessions that are just pure horrors. But then you pop out of it and you go up to the next plateau. What usually happens is something not related to CRV at all in your life gets better because your subconscious and your conscious have worked something out and you never really realized what happened. And so something in some session may trigger some memory that's in your mind that's been hidden, pressed down and all that for ages, and it may trigger it, and your conscious and subconscious have to work it out, and you go into that slump. It works out, you come out of the slump, you go out to the next plateau, but also something in your life gets better. And we found this repeatedly. Yeah, the slumps are good. Work your way through them. But if you go into a slump and you give up, it's over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we learn so much if we just persist. Sometimes I look back and I'm like, how did I stick with it this long? how did I manage to stick with this long? But I really do love it, and it's the exploration of consciousness that's so amazing. Here's a question from Constance, and she says, can you develop ideograms for one thing, like north, south, east, west, when you're doing a session on location or real estate, and then have those same ideograms used for something else when doing a session on something else entirely? For example, a V is north when the session is trying to find out what area to buy a house, but a V ideogram is river when doing a session on the part of the outdoors you're looking at. That's a good question. One of the things, though, Lynn, let me just precede this with, do you remember when you were telling me about how the Coast Guard had you fly over and tell them which ship had the drugs on it, and you had created an ideogram for drugs that was just, pretty much for that session, for that task? And sometimes, like, I don't go to casinos very often, but if I do, I can quickly create an ideogram for red, black, and green, for example, and use them just for that. And then I forget about those ideograms because I'm not going to use them again for a long time. Right. So I was talking about the temporary use of certain ideograms for certain specific purposes. Would you like to speak to that?
Yeah. The important thing to realize is that, using that analogy, ideograms are for gestalts, okay? And so if you use an ideogram, if you create an ideogram for red, you're actually creating an ideogram for the gestalt of redness and blackness, okay, and greenness. And if you keep understanding those ideograms as being gestalts, then you can create an ideogram very effectively for any gestalt you want. So, you only have so much money. You want to buy the car, or do you want to buy a greenhouse? Okay. If you make those ideograms for nouns, they're not going to work. But if you make an ideogram for traveling in a car, the gestalt of Farfignugan, okay,
Wait, say that again. I didn't hear you.
Farfignugan, the joy of traveling, okay, and you make the other for the gestalt of being in some place and growing things and all that. Then those two ideograms are going to tell you which one to get.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good point. I love that.
You make it for the gestalt. Ideograms don't work for nouns. They don't. Because your subconscious doesn't think in nouns.
Exactly. That's wonderful. I love that. That is not something that I had ever articulated before, but that's an amazing observation. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's fabulous. Heather asked you, how many sessions did you do when you first started out? But you were in the military getting, you had to work 8 hours a day, right?
I had to work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, at least. And, at least 8 hours, at least 5 days. And I did a session according to a schedule. And that schedule was when somebody came up and said, do this session.
Yeah, Heather, keep in mind there's a little bit of a difference between working in the military and having to be a remote viewer in the military and choosing to be a remote viewer as a civilian. I think that there's some big differences there.
Civilian schedules go by democracy. The military is not a democracy.
Dictatorship, for sure. Yes, that's so true. Claire had a question. She said, when we know who has taken a photo for a target, can that be contamination? I sometimes pick up on the energy of the person who took the picture attached to the picture, and it gets confusing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And many times there'll be like the feedback picture is a scene with nobody in it. And yet a person gets the photographer who's taking the scene, taking the picture, The thing is with practice, okay, here's the thing. You analyze your session afterwards. And you not only say, was there a photographer there? Yes, there was, and I got it. Hey, I did remote viewing. But was that the target? No, it wasn't the target, And once you get accustomed to asking yourself, did I address the target? Okay. That becomes important when you get into operations, because like you're doing a remote viewing for the police, okay? The police have their opinions, they have their expectations, their fears of any danger or anything like that, their own biases and all that. And those are there as a part of the job. But can you get past all of that and view the target? And so when you do your practice sessions and you score the results, there's a difference between did I view the target and did I do good viewing? Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you analyze your sessions and your work, you want to just ask yourself that simple question. was that about the target?
And that really applies to displacement as well, because sometimes you view the wrong target super well. You go, oh man, I viewed the wrong target, but I did such a great job. I nailed it. I nailed the wrong target. And it's easy to get excited and happy that even though you viewed the wrong target, you still did it really, really well. But unfortunately, you still missed the target. You didn't view the one you intended to. And if you get really excited and reward yourself for viewing the wrong target well, then you're training your subconscious to do that again every time. Like, wow, I view the wrong target.
This is one of the problems with the way people do ARV, associative remote viewing. They pick one target standing for will the Cowboys win, the other one for will New Orleans win.
Will the Broncos win?
And then at feedback time, they show you both feedbacks. And so one thing about the subconscious mind is it doesn't do time the way we do. So if you see both feedbacks, it's going to influence your session that you've already done. Okay. If you get excited about, hey, I got 100% on the wrong target, that excitement is going to reflect back and cause you to do the wrong target. So,
Causality, there's no getting around it.
One of the things you learn in controlled remote viewing is that time is not what they taught you in school. It's really not.
Lynn, you always I'd always talk to you about time and be like, Lynn, to explain time to me. Do you remember how many times I asked you that? Explain time to me again. And you used to say, well, sometimes you just have to experience it. You have to experience it and you'll understand it. Well, I have had so many experiences with time. And the other night I was dreaming that I was trying to explain time to a group of people. And I was like literally experiencing this really wild kind of multidimensional experience as I was explaining it to them. But I was frustrated because I could not articulate what I was experiencing with the whole thing.
Yeah, everybody says, how do I go sideways in time? Please explain that. You can't explain it.
No, it's really hard.
You experience it, and they suddenly know what it means, and then they can't explain it either.
Yeah, it's really hard. I had a vision of moving through a tunnel, and all around the tunnel where how they have those tunnels now that are in these water world places where you can see the fish all around you because you're kind of underwater and the fish are all around you because the tunnel is made of glass. Well, it was like a glass tunnel that was time, and I was moving through it. Time was stationary. I was moving through it, but time was happening all around me, and I could just reach up and grab an incident from any point in time and experience it. It was a really cool dream. It's like, and people are like, what kind of drugs are you doing, Lori? No, but it was a wild dream, and it really felt, I think it's because I've been reading all these books about physics and time, and all, crazy stuff like that.
If time is part of time space, an integral part of time space, if space is three-dimensional, then time has to be too, because it's part of it.
Exactly. But that's hard to understand if you've never thought of it that way. It took me years to finally kind of click in, a lot of years and a lot of remote viewing, because the deeper remote viewing things that you do as you get more experience under your belt. That's why we kind of get discouraged. We're not discouraged, but it's kind of disheartening when you see people take one basic class and turn around and start telling people they can teach it, because it's not till you get a lot of sessions under your belt that you start experiencing things in a way you never imagined, just dimensionally, and it's pretty phenomenal.
That's why on my website there's a thing about trainers, and I have a list of, I think right now, 8 people who are qualified CRV trainers, and you've got dozens and dozens of people out there. I know one who's taken a 4-hour course and is out there teaching advanced CRV. Come on, you're going to learn garbage.
Yeah, and it's unfair for people to have to put money out for something that's not what it purports itself to be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Kristen asks, what if you get the target area correct, but your mind takes off and shows the history timeline of the area, including events that happened in the area? How do you stop that and only see the assigned target? I love that question.
Okay, first of all, have you ever seen the movie Up?
Yes, I've seen the movie Up.
With the dog is talking along, and all of a sudden, squirrel, squirrel. Your subconscious is going to do that. And it's with practice that it learns to stay on target. But also the English one structure in CRV holds you on target. And you know, as you practice the structure. When people ask me from the basic course, am I ready to go into intermediate? They say, you know, do you want to know my accuracy? And I say, no, I want to see your structure. Do a session so I can see your structure. I don't care what the score is. I want to see your structure, because the structure that Ingo created will carry you through, will keep you on target, and you know, and you teach the same structure. Every qualified CRV trainer teaches the same exact structure because it works. And
Really?
And all you have to do is practice.
That's right. That is so true.
Experience under your belt. Yeah.
Now, people are asking things. I just want to say to everybody, we're really kind of sticking to questions that are about CRV and CRV structure. As far as like angels and guides and spirits and things like that, we're not getting into that too much, just because we really teach a method that was used by the U.S. military. And whether or not you personally prefer to believe that angels and guides and spirits and are interfering or are part of your session, that's your personal belief system. But basically, we're kind of teaching this like you have your bow and arrow, and we want you to hit the target. And so we're going to be working with you on your form and the way you're holding the bow and arrow and how you're releasing it, and and then everything else is up to you as far as whether there are.
People come to me and they say, well, you know, my spirit guides are giving me the information, and I say, okay, keep data. How accurate are your spirit guides?
Exactly, and you might be surprised when you get the answer to that.
Oh yeah, they live on a different plane and all that. But I always say, you know, if you depend on your spirit guides and that gives you accuracy, then hey, I'm all for it. If you depend on angels, I'm all for it and all that. But as far as me, they ask, where does the information come from? I don't care. If the information is good, it will bring home a missing kid. And so don't worry about where the information comes from or who's helping you in a session or your spirit guides or whatever. Worry about the results. Okay? If the results, you know, hey, if you want to gut chickens and read entrails and it helps me bring home a missing kid, hey, I'm all for it.
Yes. Now, here's a good question. Alex asked, if we create reality, how is it that science sometimes makes discoveries that contradict what everyone believed or thought or hoped or wanted? And that's kind of a circular answer. I mean, I'll let you take it first, Lynn. If we create reality, how is it that science sometimes makes discoveries that contradict what everyone believed, thought, hoped, or wanted?
Because many times we create a reality for ourselves that is opposed to the real reality. Okay. But along that line, David Shaver is in the process of writing a new book, and I've read it, and it's excellent. It's about the the mind creating reality, dealing with the real reality, with physics, and how psychic functioning and physics are actually just looking at the same coin from two different sides. And my question back to him, I wrote a little paper that I could probably post somewhere here, but one of the questions is, okay, we're seeing the quantum world as being all confusion and all that. Is that a reflection of the fact that we don't understand it? And as we understand it, will quantum mechanics become organized? We'll have to find out, you know. And so, you know, the observer's effect. And Schrodinger's cat, the cat in the box. He says, when you open the box, that's when you find out whether it's dead or alive. And so that's when it depends. You're observing it depends on whether it's going to be dead or alive. I disagree. I think Schrodinger missed the point. Is your belief about what's going to happen to the cat going to cause the cat to live or die before you open the box? Is it the observation or is it the mind? And Schrodinger got it wrong. He says the observing of an experiment affects the outcome of the experiment. I don't think so. It's your belief about the experiment that causes the experiment, and then you observe it. Okay. This is nitpicky. Your sound went out.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Okay, so we have about 9 minutes. Chris asked, Lyn, you have stated in the past that you are a religious man. How does this affect CRV readings? Your CRV readings. How does this affect your CRV readings?
I hate the word readings because
I know. I hate the word readings too.
It, you know, in my belief system, personal belief system, God gave us all intuition. It's helped us survive many millennia of things that would kill us off as a human race. He's given us intuition. We learn not to use it, or we learn to use it. And for my religious aspect of it is, if God gives you a talent and you don't use it to help people or whatever, that's a sin. And I had a Baptist preacher come over a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "What do you do for a living?" And I told him, and so then he was open-minded enough to listen to what we do, and he said, "This is a science. It's fantastic." And he said it does go along with the human mind and our human intuition. And the church, many psychics have separated from religion, not because of the psychic's belief, but because religion has kicked them out. Religion says if you're psychic, then you're going to hell. You know, that's not true. God gave you a talent, use it.
Well, also, it's no different from any others. Is your eyesight evil? Is your hearing evil?
That's
Is
right.
your ability to use your psychic sense, is that evil? No, it's no more evil than anything else, any other sense that God gave us. And that was the very first thing that I saw on your website when I was trying to look up remote viewing for the very first time. Was your website came up and it said, what is CRV? And it explained it in such a way that I was like, oh, It's not weird or evil or anything. It's just like a normal sense, like anything else. And it just was so freeing to read that. That was my very first experience with you, Lynn.
Yeah. And on many interviews, people will say, "Oh, well, you're special." Hey, I've always been upset by the fact that psychics and remote viewers and all that say anybody can do this. And then they go saying, feeling special and all that. Hey, if you're doing something that anybody can do, you're not special. You're just not.
That is a great point. That is a great point. I have one more really fabulous. I don't know how many questions we can get in before we quit, but another great question. What is the highest degree of front loading a viewer can accept and still deliver useful data? I love this question.
Oh, listen, I have been hit with so much front loading that it would stop a truck. If you make the rule that you go for the unknown and all that pile of crap that's given to you, find the unknown and go for that. Because that's the one thing they can't pollute you with because they don't know. All right. And so when the police tell me what they think it is, what they think and all that, hey, look to see what they're saying, what they think, set that aside, look for what they don't know, go for that, and you'll do fine. The pollution won't. Yeah.
To me, you have to really gain some practice experience to get toughened up to be able to handle pollution. And front loading is a form of pollution that we try to train people how to create front loading that is neutralized. It's not so full of loaded words. Like when you think of the word criminal, you immediately think of all kinds of things that go with the word criminal, like male and dark and drug addicted and pockmarked. And it turns out it's this little old lady who's been embezzling from the company, or whatever. And so we try to make everything as neutral as possible with front loading. But then Lynn's training with me and my training with my students is, I think, the most important quality that a good remote viewer can have is resilience and versatility. Because if you become a prima donna, where I can't remote view unless I have perfect conditions, unless I meditate first, and everything has to be perfectly quiet and all these things, then you'll be useless as a remote viewer. Well, the same thing goes for front loading. If you can't handle any information, then you're going to be useless as a remote viewer. And for the first, I think, 2 years that I was remote viewing with Lynn, I would never let him give me front loading because every activity was a basketball game and every event was Princess Di's wedding in my mind. So I'd say, no, Lynn, don't give me front loading. And finally he said, Lori, if you don't start accepting front loading, you are going to be useless as a remote viewer. And it was so true. And now I can handle just about anything, but
operations, you go to a police department and they say, okay, we've got a missing child. And it was, the child was abducted by a man and all this, and they give you all this information. And they say, now, and they say, and this was 3 days ago. And we, by statistics, after 1 day, the child is dead and all this. Now then, remote view.
It's hard. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
If you have to turn around and say, I'm sorry, you polluted me, I can't leave, you're no good.
Yeah, that's so true. And last question we have time for. Ian says he feels like he's blocked when it comes to sketching. Do you have any advice for Ian?
Yeah, sketch anyway. No, put your pen to the paper, and if you have to push it to make it start, sketch anyway. And then don't depend on that sketch. But when you go back and analyze your session afterwards, look to see if there's something about that sketch that might apply, even if it's just one part of a line. That will encourage your subconscious mind to say, oh, I can do this, okay? And it will unblock your subconscious for the sketching. Anyway.
One of the first sketches I ever did by myself when I got home from taking basic class I had my aesthetic impact, so it was time for me to sketch. The rules say I must now sketch is what I was thinking. Not necessarily true, but at the time that's what I thought. So I just didn't know what to sketch. I didn't have anything in my mind's eye, so I just quickly put 2 lines on a piece of paper, just kind of like this and like this. When I pulled out the feedback, it was one big ship overtaking a little ship, and those 2 lines were like perfect depictions of the target, but I had no idea when I did them. And those sometimes when you have no idea what you're going to do and you just say, I'm going to put some lines on a piece of paper, sometimes those end up being the most subconscious and the most accurate.
Right. One of the secrets of sketching is you let your subconscious do it. If you're trying to do a sketch consciously, oh, I said square, therefore it must be, forget it. It's not going to work. Let your subconscious do it.
So guys, Lyn and I have to get off. We have to have a pretty hard stop here at the end of the hour. But I did want you to know that Lyn has graciously agreed to do this every month. So we're going to be doing it every month. The next one is, let me look it up. We have it on the calendar already. It's in January. I think it's January. Oh, nope. I think it's January. Is it January 6th? Yes, January 6th. My dad's birthday. January 6th at noon. We're going to be doing another one of these 1-hour webinars, and we're going to try to do one once a month as much as we can. So join us January 6th. We don't have time to take any more questions. One of the things we decided, though, is if we're going to do it monthly, we definitely have to keep it to an hour. So we're keeping it to an hour, but join us again, January 6th. We'll be back. Bring your questions again, and we'll try to cover as many questions as we can. And yes, we'll post this on LinkedIn. I'll be sending a copy to Lyn. He can put it on his YouTube channel. I'll put it on my YouTube channel and my Vimeo channel. And, so you guys can have plenty of access to it. Lyn's website is crviewer.com. My website is intuitivespecialist.com. You guys can jump in there. There's lots of goodies on both websites. Lyn has lots of free stuff. I have lots of free stuff. And
for my training, I have discounts for the holiday season.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's awesome. Discounts for the holiday season, guys. That is awesome. And lots of great comments here, Lyn. People thanking you and thanking me and thanking us for doing this. Lots of positive things. Great, guys. It was a lot of fun. And we'll be back next month, January 6th. Come back. And it's always better to quit when you're on a high and quit when you're longing for more. So that's a good thing to keep in mind with, oh, Mary, that's not typed right. crviewer.com. Anyway, so yeah, just come back, guys, next month and with your questions, and we'll be sure and answer those. Thanks so much. So that's crviewer.com. Let me see if I can type it in here. crviewer.com. There we go. crviewer.com, guys. And there we go. And thanks. Oh, let's see. Anyway, so yes, Lyn has a special going on for the holidays. So jump in there. He's got a basic course out. When's your intermediate coming out, Lyn?
It's coming out. The class starts on the 15th of this month, but it's for those who have had basic only. If you haven't had the basic CRV, you're not ready for intermediate. I don't want to take anybody's money if they're not ready.
It's a recorded course, right? Not a live course. It's a recorded. It's recorded,
but we have webinars. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, but I mean, they sign up for it and they can take it at their leisure and watch it on their own schedule.
On the intermediate, we're going through everyone as a class. Now, on the basic, you go through it at your own speed.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So great. Thank you. That's awesome. That's really good to know. I didn't understand that. Wonderful. All right. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you soon. Be sure and join us next month. Bye-bye, everybody.